What's up guys, tech-raccoon back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use your Behringer Q802 USB mixer or Q502 mixer to its full functionality. On a side note here, I did mention in the last video that I'd compare the Rode NT-G2 to the Rode NT5 in this video, but I haven't really had time this week to compare them properly, so I'll leave that for next week so I can make a proper comparison. So let's start off with what you will need to get the full functionality. You'll have to spend a fair bit of extra money for a cheap interface. About 50 to 60 Australian dollars or 30 to 40 American dollars. You'll also need an RCA cable, and that's about it. Now what's the reason you might want to do this? Well, let's say you don't want to spend the money on a very expensive Behringer mixer which has all the USB functionality, then this tutorial will work for you because you'll only have to spend about 50 to 60 Australian dollars extra on an interface, and that's all you'll need. Most people have RCA cables lying around, and RCA cables are very cheap anyway. Now what the tutorial will be fixing is the problem where cheaper Behringer mixers like the Q502 USB and the Q802 USB don't have full functionality through USB. So you can't listen to audio, record audio, and monitor your audio at the same time. And you can't even listen to audio and record audio at the same time. So it's a big letdown, and these mixers are probably not designed to be used in this sort of situation for a computer. It's more designed for a live setting with a stage, and you can just plug it into your laptop for live streaming or whatever, where you don't need to actually listen to audio through your laptop. But for me and a lot of other people who are considering to buy this mixer, they want to use it with those three functionalities because it's extremely useful to firstly monitor your audio, but secondly you have to be able to listen through a computer without switching a button every time you want to either talk to someone or record your voice. So what you want to do for this tutorial is obviously have your mixer set up, and you won't actually have to use the USB functionality of these mixers at all. So if you haven't already purchased the mixer and you don't need compression, then I'd recommend going with the non-USB version for this tutorial. But if you already have purchased it or you need compression like I do, then just go ahead and buy the USB mixer. It's not a lot more expensive and you get compression, which is really nice. So what you want to do is you want to plug in your RCA cable, preferably one with left and right channels, but it doesn't really matter. And you want to plug that into the main mix out on your Q802 or Q502. Then you want to set your main mix level to exactly 0 dB in the middle, and this will be shown in the B-roll shots. And then from the main mix, the RCA cables will go straight into your audio interface. And the audio interface I'd recommend for this tutorial, and the interface I'm actually using, is the Behringer Uphoria UM2. It's a very cheap interface. You can even go sometimes for as low as 50 Australian dollars, which is a very good deal. It only has one XLR, but that XLR is multifunction with an instrument port. Now you will need 2 or 4 adapters from RCA into the 1/4 inch instrument port. Now if you're only using one channel out from main mix into the interface, then you only need 2 of these adapters. If you're going to use 2 channel, which isn't exactly necessary unless you're going to be using 2 microphones in the mixer and you want them recorded on separate channels, then you can use 2 RCA cables with 2 of those adapters. But I'd recommend probably just using one if you're not going to be recording 2 separate channels. So you want to plug those RCA cables from the main mix into both of the instrument ports on your interface. And then if you're only going to be using one microphone, or you're only going to be recording into one channel, then you just plug in one, obviously, as I mentioned. But if you are going to be using 2 on 2 separate channels, here is how you're going to configure it. You're going to put them on the exact same gain level, and you'll have to kind of set this up and tweak it to the point where the gain doesn't clip unnecessarily. You'll have to kind of fine tune the gain levels on the interface, but once you find the sweet spot, you can just mark it with a marker. Now the gain setting that worked best for me was about 9 o'clock on both instrument ports, but I don't really use 2 channels as I'm not really recording a podcast or have 2 people recording audio, so I only use one. But yes, that's the best gain setting I found to work well. And in Windows, the gain setting I use is 70%. Some people use 65. I find 70% to be the most accurate representation of what I hear through direct monitor. Now on the mixer, if you do want to record 2 separate channels, you'll have to set the balance on both microphones opposite to each other. So one microphone will have to be all the way to the left and one will have to be all the way to the right. and then they'll both be recording into 2 separate channels, and all you need to do in control panel is just to set this interface to record in 2 channel, and then in Audacity, which is a free recording software, it'll record in 2 channels, and they'll both have different audio from the 2 microphones you're recording with. You can also set it up with 2 instruments, since the Q802 USB and non-USB do have 2 instrument port in those XLR ports. But if you are using the Q502, you won't have to mess around with any 2 instrument port or any of that. You just go 1 RCA from the main mix, and that's all that's required. So now if you do have any more questions about this, let me know in the comments down below, and if this video helped you out setting this up, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If it didn't, drop a dislike on the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.